Hey everyone, we're going to do a primary source deep dive document analysis. Today we're going to be looking at Alexander Stevens' Cornerstone speech. So let's go into the context a little bit. Our document dives are going to have context, text, and then legacy. So we're going to talk about the context first. Alexander Stevens ended up being vice president of the Confederacy. He was vice president of the Confederate States of America. And that's really important. And that's the reason that we're taking a look at this document, is to try to get an understanding of what the Confederacy was really founded on and put to rest maybe some arguments about some of the things that some people say it was founded on. It's important to note that Alexander Stevens had a political career. He was a member of the House of Representatives, both before and then, amazingly, even after the Civil War. He was a member of the House of Representatives from 1873 to 1882. He also was governor of Georgia after the Civil War. So let's take a look at the text. One of the things that is important about the Cornerstone speech is it really establishes what Confederate thinkers and secessionists viewed as one of the main causes of the Civil War, as well as the foundation of the Southern Confederacy as a government, as a political unit. So if we look at the text, he says, "We are passing through one of the great revolutions in the annals of the world. 7 states have, within the last 3 months, thrown off an old government and formed a new one. This revolution has been signally marked up to this time by the fact of its having been accomplished without loss of a single drop of blood." Now, of course, we know that's going to change. A month after this is spoken, in March 21st, 1861, we're going to have the firing on Fort Sumter and the breakout of the Civil War. So he talks about how the new Southern Constitution, the Confederate Constitution, is just significantly better than the federal Constitution that had predated it. And he said it's, quote, decidedly better than the old. These next passages really highlight the significance of this particular document that I really think we need to focus on. So he basically goes and says, "The new Constitution has put at rest forever all the agitating questions relating to our peculiar institutions, African slavery as it exists amongst us, the proper status of the Negro in our form of civilization. This was the immediate cause of the late rupture and present revolution." So if someone's going to make an argument that slavery was not the primary cause of the Civil War, I think we just need to look at the words of the secessionists themselves, and notably the man who became the vice president of the Confederacy, who said that the immediate cause of the Civil War was revolution. He goes on to talk about how Jefferson predicted this split, and it was basically an inevitable one, and that equality was a violation of the laws of nature. And then he goes on to say, "Our new government is founded upon exactly the opposite ideas. Its foundations are laid, its cornerstone rests upon the great truth that the Negro is not equal to the white man, that slavery, subordination to the superior race, is his natural and moral condition. This, our new government, is the first in the history of the world based upon this great physical, philosophical, and moral truth." So the reason we look at this document and examine its importance is because there's a lot of debate and discussion that's been had over the past 150 years about why the Civil War was fought. And there was a narrative that emerged in the years after the Civil War that it was fought over things like tariffs and banks and state rights. And while there may be elements of a states' rights argument that exist, the truth is the secessionists themselves and the vice president of the Confederacy and other documents as well laid out pretty clear that slavery was the cause of the Civil War, and it's the foundation upon which the Confederacy was built. So let's talk about the legacy. Just real quick. Over the course of the 20th century, there have been, emergences of different historical views and arguments about the causes of the Civil War. I just want to point out, here's a picture of a statue of Alexander Stevens in Statuary Hall in Congress. And every state is allowed to send 2 statues to Statuary Hall, which is the large hall in the U.S. Congress building, the Capitol building. And Georgia has sent Alexander Stevens, and he's been there, I believe, since the 1820s. And there's a lot of argument over what this Confederacy represents and what it stands for and what historical memory means and how it should be represented in our monuments and in how we view history. And I think it's important to note that if we're going to be looking at Confederate thinkers as icons, then we need to make sure that we look at their words when they say that the Confederacy was founded on slavery, and that's what the Cornerstone speech establishes. And it's a pretty significant piece of evidence for the argument that the Civil War was primarily caused by slavery and secondarily caused by everything else.